For IRS purposes, resident doesn't mean immigration resident. It's a tax classification that controls what income gets taxed. Resident aliens are generally taxed like U.S. citizens on worldwide income. Non-resident aliens are generally taxed only on U.S. source income. And dual status is the weird in-between year when your status changes mid-year. On the EA exam, they test these labels before they test the math. First way to become a resident alien, the green card test. If you're a lawful, permanent resident at any time during the calendar year, you can be treated as a resident for the entire year. That anytime language is what they love to slip into questions. Don't overthink day counts if a green card is in play. Green card usually ends the debate. No green card? Then you look at the substantial presence test. 2 hurdles. First, at least 31 days in the US in the current year. Second, at least 183 weighted days over the current year plus the 2 prior years. All current year days, 1/3 of last year, and 1/6 of the year before that. Exam tip: write the fractions immediately so you don't flip them. Now the curveball: exempt individuals. Exempt doesn't mean exempt from tax. It means exempt from counting days for substantial presence. Common categories are diplomats on A or G visas, teachers or researchers on certain temporary visas, and students on F1 or J1 visas. Students can be exempt for 5 calendar years, and any part of a year counts as a full year. That's a classic exam trap. International students are heavily tested. If they're in the US on an F1 or J1 student visa, they're typically non-resident aliens for up to 5 calendar years, even if they're physically here all year. They often file Form 1040 NR during that period. And while they're non-resident aliens, they generally don't pay Social Security or Medicare tax on their earnings. Once they become resident aliens, FICA usually kicks in. Even if someone passes substantial presence, they may still claim they're a non-resident using a closer connection exception if they maintain stronger ties to another country. Think Canadian snowbird. On the exam, the key idea is substantial presence is not always the final word. If you see facts about a foreign tax home and stronger ties abroad, your radar should go up for closer connection. Last big concept: residency through marriage. A non-resident alien who doesn't meet the tests can elect to be treated as a resident if married to a U.S. citizen or resident, but only by filing a joint return and both spouses agreeing to treat the non-resident as a resident for the entire year. If they file separately and the spouse has no SSN or I-10, you'll often enter NRA in the ID number space. EA exam loves that detail. Question 47. According to the IRS, which factor does not weigh in favor of the IRS approving equitable relief? The choices include abuse by the spouse, poor mental or physical health when signing or requesting relief, the requesting spouse still living with the other spouse, or none of the above. Think about which one is actually an unfavorable factor. The correct answer is the taxpayer requesting relief still living with his or her spouse. Living together generally works against equitable relief, not in favor of it. A tempting choice is poor health because it sounds negative, but for equitable relief, it can support the request. Remember, factors can be favorable, neutral, or unfavorable, and cohabitation is commonly unfavorable. Question 58. Marcus's wife moved out on November 1st, 2023 and hasn't returned. Marcus pays all the cost of keeping up the home for himself and his 6-year-old dependent child. His wife won't communicate, and he can't get her signature or income info. They aren't divorced. What filing status should Marcus use? Married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of household, or single? Think about it. The correct answer is married filing separately. He's still legally married, and he cannot file a joint return without his spouse's consent and signature. Head of household is tempting because he has a child and pays the home costs, but the question doesn't establish he meets the considered unmarried rules. On the EA exam, when the spouse won't sign, default to MFS unless HOH is clearly supported.